What's up, guys? It has been a while since I posted a YouTube video. It's been a crazy summer, very busy, but we've gotten a ton of work done on the house and around the house. Bunch of progress. I want to take you around inside and outside and show you what we've been up to. So first, come on in here. I'm going to show you the living room, dining room. It was filled with my grandparents' stuff, just clutter everywhere, basically filled to the brim, and I got it all onto 4 Metro racks, the same racks I was using to run my microgreens business. Their stuff is now on those racks in the corner of the room, and now we have a nice, beautiful room to use as a living room, hang out, and more importantly, the dining room where we've been doing work because upstairs has been way too hot. All right, let's go in here. This room is literally filled with my grandparents' stuff. It's all back on these racks now, pushed away into the corner. The room's been cleaned. We got a new rug on the floor. Everything's in place for, hanging out and relaxing. Alyssa bought some new plants recently. They look pretty cool. And we got a little Margot here hanging out on the chair. What's up, little girl? You want to come for the video? You want to come for a little walk? So we got a cat now. This is the most important part of the room right here, the living room, or the dining room rather, because upstairs has been way too hot to get any good work done. Got a nice little TV so we could do the Google Chrome onto the TV and watch educational videos as we're getting work done, learning and working. That's what we've been doing a lot of lately as I learn some new skills into the future. And if you see this is the first time that these are being shown online. This is the Donny Greens Microgreens Tray, collaboration with Bootstrap Farmer. First tray to be made with 2 different colors, the green and gold, and these will be available for purchase really soon in a special kit that I'm putting together, as well as just for normal purchase on the Bootstrap Farmer website. So that was kind of a little sneak peek into the future. First time seeing that. Let's go this way. Actually, before we go outside, let's go back to where we started shooting the video. I want to show you the rack that I have set up in my house to grow microgreens on. I have 2 trays growing right now, and I have this little outside area too where I start my trays. So this is a rack that I built in the house. I put down this little kind of like weather mat, so any water that falls down will go right on here. I'm growing some really bad trays of microgreens right now. Look at all this mold. I don't know if you can see that, but it's pretty awful, pretty terrible. And that's because of a few things. 1, I'm in a brand new environment. 2, and this is the main reason, I'm using a different growing medium because I'm testing out different growing mediums for the kit that I mentioned before. And this is cocoa coir. I haven't even had to water it once. It just holds water and keeps it there. It doesn't have any water drainage really at all. It just holds onto that moisture and keeps it there. So these were only watered during germination. Then they were obviously so waterlogged that they got all moldy, and I still haven't watered them at all. So that was broccoli and then radish. The radish are looking a little bit better, but it's all right. Mostly the growing medium. It's also really hot. I'm not used to growing in these conditions, but going through the cycles and trying to figure out the best way to grow these in this environment and with some different materials. So here on the front porch, we made some progress the other day. So we kind of just rearranged this area. This table is what we're using out here to make trays on. I just brought out my soil bin from the farm, so this still has a bunch of Pro Mix in it. I'm gonna grow a few trays with my Pro Mix, which is what I'm used to using. And see if those come out any differently compared to the coconut coir. We used to have this in our kitchen at our old house, so now we have it out here. And I'll probably load this up with some trays and maybe some seeds. That way this is like a nice little tray making area outside here on the front porch. Now I want to take this front porch and really, it's super small, so I want to add a screen and a door right here and a screen and a door right here and make this like a little like hydroponic like grow area. Because you'll see in a second, the grow bins, the raised beds that I had on the back porch, they didn't work very well. It was my fault. I used, again, a terrible soil blend. So I'm going to fix those up, try and get a crop for the fall. But in terms of, long-term solutions and what we want to do with this space, we're thinking screening it in and growing food out here as well. Probably hydroponics and mostly hydroponics, lettuce and herbs, that type of thing. Stuff that can go outside with the sun and can beat us in the screened-in area. All right, did some trimming of the hedges, getting it nice over here. It's pretty much ready to be screened in. So, and then we brought this hose over here too. Part of how this transpired is we're seeing the front porch. There's nothing really to do with it. It's right near this indoor rack, so we could use it for making trays and then bringing in. So that's a good use. But then I realized that there's a water spigot right over here. So that's a perfect opportunity to have water in this area. We also have a grounded outlet right here, so we could have electricity. Might as well use it for some growing. All right, let's head over to the back porch and check out the grow bins that I've royally screwed up this summer. I'll explain what I did wrong there, and then I'll also show you what the few things that we have done right, and then I'll show you the basement and the garage, which is where the microgreens farm is going to be. We've been making a ton of progress, so let's go onto the back porch right now. It's a little messy. We use this area a lot, so that makes sense. But basically, as far as the whole property goes, it's been insanely hot, and we've been insanely busy, vacationing and working a lot inside. So the whole yard is basically overgrown. We've accepted this, we're okay with it, and we've decided we're gonna do a lot more outdoor work in the fall where it's a little bit cooler and we could be outside a little bit more comfortably. I've been using the pool a ton. It's been amazing. And these raised beds, they looked really nice and they've been performing really well, but what I put inside them has not. So let's go take a look. Oh, also in the morning, my morning routine has been on point. I got my lemon water out here, it charges in the sun, while I go in the grass over there and do Qigong. Shout out to Troy Casey. I do Qigong every morning while my lemon water is charging in the sun, and I also let the cats come outside and explore a little bit outside while I do my morning Qigong. That's been a great little addition to my life, and I've been actually getting into some good routines, so that's good. All right, let's go over here. So you can see we got some purslane growing in here. That was an accident, but I'm not upset about it. We got these strawberries, which have kind of rooted in and taken hold. Not nearly enough water has been going into these beds. That was one of the problems, but we're going to be running some irrigation lines and doing drip lines into all these raised beds. That's going to help tremendously and just automate the watering. Now this bed, I put a little bit of a different soil in, and that's why things were actually able to grow okay in here. The lettuce, obviously I'm letting grow to seed. Nasturtiums, I should just rip out at this point. But we were able to get a decent amount of good crops in this bed. We were able to eat lettuces, we ate strawberries, we've eaten purslane. We had those turnips, what are they called? Wakame turnips? Harame turnips? There's some sort of special turnip that you harvest about the size of a radish. Speaking of radishes, we got a few radishes out of here. What else do we have? A little bit of arugula, mustard greens. But it worked because I ended up mixing ProMix in with the compost, and that was good enough to grow some food. Now in these bins, the crops went into the soil and basically just did nothing. I got a few fruits, like a few tomatoes, a few string beans, stuff like that, but when I put them in, they basically did nothing. Even, with some water, they just weren't growing, and the roots weren't growing out. And the reason why is because the soil that I'm using in these bins, I use just straight compost, and that was just the wrong thing to do. It's too compacted, it breaks down and really tightens up together. There's not enough airflow for the roots, and there's not enough water drainage either for the roots. So it was just a bad experience, and that's why I got this bale of ProMix out of the garage yesterday. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix in this ProMix into the compost, try and do something like a 50-50 mix, and try and do a round of crops for fall and see if that works. So One of the things that's just way different about how I am now versus a few years ago, like when I was first starting my business, is that when things go wrong, I don't get disappointed anymore. I have so many things going on that I'm not upset when stuff like this happens or doesn't go as I planned. I just consider it a learning experience, a little mistake, and I'm still happy with all the other stuff that I've got going on, and there's still plenty of time into the future, right? So let's go take a walk around. I'll show you some of the other stuff that has been going a little bit better, and then we'll take you into the garage and the basement, finish it off with the farm progress. So over here we've had some success. I planted borage flowers in front of cucumber plants, and we've gotten just a few borage flowers, nothing too crazy. So again, a little bit disappointing, but no big deal. But what we have gotten is quite a few cucumbers, and actually the best ones I've ever grown. Nice big ones, consistent, looking like ones that you would buy in the store. Like this one, pretty good, huh? Not too bad. Haven't really even been watering much. And we use straight compost there too, but the big difference is that's in the ground, whereas those are in the bins above the ground. So because these are in the ground with that compost, they're able to do a little bit better, get situated, and produce some fruit. All right, let's head over here. I'll show you some more updates. There was a tree here that we didn't really want. It was kind of not doing that great. It was cracked and bent and all sorts of stuff. So I chopped down that tree with my handy dandy chainsaw. I'm getting pretty good at using that thing. And we built a fire pit here because I figured this was the perfect place for a fire pit. And if we build a fire pit on top of the stump, then I'm thinking over time as we burn fires in the fire pit, it'll kind of burn the stump down. So that's what we're doing here. I've had a few fires, they've been pretty nice. And yeah, but come over here, I want to show you something on this tree. So if you look closely, you can see that this tree is completely loaded with walnuts. Chestnuts. These are chestnuts. So these little spiky balls, these keep on growing, they get nice and big like that. And then they get brown and they drop off the tree, and then you go pick up all these little spiky balls, open them up, and inside are chestnuts. So this tree is completely loaded. We have a few chestnut trees, but it looks like this is the only one that's really producing at all. That one looks like it might have a few up top, that one too, but this one is fully loaded. So this is like really the producer this season. I'm wondering if some of my branch chopping in the beginning of the spring helped this tree to redirect some of its energy up into the fruit rather than into the branches and the tree itself. So it's probably hard to see on the camera, but this tree is absolutely loaded. If we take this camera up here, we can probably get some close-ups. Just look up in there, you can see them all. Alright, so pretty pumped about the chestnut tree. Should be able to get a ton of food off of this into the fall. I don't even know when these drop. Probably late fall, early winter. But so that'll be awesome. Been chipping away at my wood chip pile. I'll show you where I've been putting them over here in the garden. So this is the area that my grandfather grew his garden in, and actually my passion for fresh food came right where these wood chips are piled. I'm walking through rows of string beans, picking them off the vine as a young kid and just popping them in my mouth. So it's pretty cool to see how everything has come full circle, my career, and where I've ended up in my life on this property. So you can see this, this whole garden area has just been run down. It's getting run down with weeds, taken over with weeds, vines, all sorts of stuff. So these are technically edible. What are these, violets? These are violets, and these are actually the base if you were making like a wild forage salad. So these are edible, but what I'm doing with the garden is I want to kind of like reset it, because I'm going to eventually have a big nice greenhouse here, a 60 foot by 20 foot greenhouse. So I'm piling up wood chips about a foot and a half tall. That way it kind of covers all the weeds, and then I'm hoping over time is that the weeds will just die off underneath the wood chips, and then the wood chips will be breaking down into soil and forming the new ground, the new base for my greenhouse area that I can then plant into in time as we get this whole area situated. But yeah, the compost that I started, I don't even know where it is at this point. It's kind of just been taken over by vines. And the whole pile of sticks and brush that we cleared from the lawn, that's also been taken over with vines. So we have these really, oh, some sort of animal. I don't know what that was. Chipmunk probably. But we have these 2 vines on the property that are just taking over everything. So that's one of the things that we're gonna be ripping out in the fall. So let's go check out the fig trees, then we'll check out, actually no, first we'll check out the blackberries, then we'll go check out the fig trees on our way back to the garage in the basement. Unfortunately, we didn't really get any berries or any fruit really because the birds have been going crazy. So this peach tree had a bunch of peaches on it, but I think nature got to it first, which is all right, especially in season 1. But starting next year in season 2, I want to start putting measures into place to not necessarily kill the wildlife, but maybe to keep them away from the crops a little bit, maybe keep them a little bit scared of the nearby area, maybe put some things in place where they peck at it, have a bad experience, and then they don't come back. So thinking about a few things, because I want to be able to eat this food that we're working hard to start growing. So come back here, I'll show you the blackberries. So it's kind of hard to see, but all in here is 10 blackberry bushes that I planted at the beginning of the season, and they've been growing like crazy. They're growing out all over the place, getting nice and big. I'm sure they're establishing great root systems in the ground. So that's been great. These have been thriving. And again, it's because I did compost, but then they're in the ground. So it's different than compost above the ground in a raised planter. They're even getting blackberries. I don't know where they are. I saw some like a minute ago, but I don't know where they ended up. But something's been eating all the blackberries as they come and get ready too. So there's still a few in there that are red and they'll turn black over time. Who knows, maybe we'll be able to get a few blackberries from underneath the foliage where the birds can't see. But as you can see, this is the vine that's growing over everything. It's taking over everything. So I definitely have to pull that vine back off the blackberries pretty soon because it's grown and is taking over. All right, that's about it over here. The elderberry trees are going really well. I have 2 down there, 1 here. I planted 2 blueberry bushes at the end down there as well, but those are still really small and still getting established. And we were able to get a little bit of fruit off of these trees. What were they called? Cherry plums. We did eat a few, not quite ripe yet, cherry plums. All right, let's go see the fig trees. All right, so this fig tree is absolutely epic. It's basically like a big old bush. And in here, we cut off all the branches because 1, we were gonna see if we could propagate it, but 2, we thought that the plant was dead. So we were like, all right, let's chop off the branches in the beginning of the season. Let's see if we could root them. None of them rooted. We figured the plant was completely dead. It was dry on the inside of these branches. But surely enough, eventually all these little tiny sprouts started coming out of the ground right at the roots, right at the base of the plant, almost looking like they were coming out of the ground, but I could tell they were coming out of like the base of the plant and the roots. And now in one season, all this foliage has grown back, and it goes pretty deep in there too. So it doesn't look like we're going to be getting figs this first season, but the fact that we have all this nice foliage, I bet next season we're going to have a tremendous amount of figs, as long as we make sure to overwinter this plant very well. So I'm going to pile up a bunch of stuff around it, leaves, sticks, wood chips, whatever, that'll break down over the winter, give off some heat, and protect the plant over the winter. Because I do not want this to die again. This is looking amazing, and it's going to produce a bunch of food starting next year. So really glad that my grandfather's fig tree is not dead, and it has come back and is thriving. like a phoenix from the ashes. Let's go see my other fig plant that I planted this year, and it's doing pretty well, and I have a funny story about it. All right, so obviously we thought that fig plant had died. And we're like, oh my gosh, we need a fig tree, like let's go get him. So we went over to Teddy's place of Thera Farms. That's where I started working as a farmer. We were actually just over there again the other day. But Teddy is making a fig orchard, and he's not selling any of his fig trees at all, any of his fig plants. I asked him, he wouldn't sell them. And then I basically had to beg him, and he eventually let me take 2 plants because he loves me. And this is them right here. So I planted them both in the ground, just compost and the ground, and they seem to be doing pretty well, barely even giving them any water. But what happened is my dad was cutting the grass one day, didn't even need him to cut the grass, don't know why he was doing it. I love cutting the grass. He pulls the corner, is looking at the rocks and the tires and making sure not to hit stuff, but he's not looking in front of him, and he comes right over here and runs over the fig plant. And guess what? The one thing that Teddy told me when I was taking these fig trees, he was like, whatever you do, don't kill them. And of course my dad runs it over within like a week of planting it. So that's this little plant right here. It's coming back up and it'll be just fine. But obviously it's a little bit smaller than this other tree, which got a little bit better of a head start because, well, it didn't get run over by a lawnmower. All right, anyways, I'm thinking that along the pool over here, this could all be food production. It's kind of just useless space anyway. There's a strip of land that we walk on, so might as well grow food over here, far enough away from the pool where it's not going to be getting splashed or causing issues with the pool. But yeah, figured that'd be good to do along this stretch. Anyways, let's go check out the garage, which I completely just redid yesterday. And then I'll also take you guys in the basement to see the epic progress that we've made, and we're getting real close to building out this farm. I even had the plumber in here yesterday. I have kind of like a contractor guy coming in today, and then an electrician coming in next week. So things are definitely moving along with the Microgreens farm. Let's go check it out. So just like the living room and dining room, the garage and the basement were filled to the brim with my grandparents' hoarded stuff. At this point, we've gotten most of the stuff out of the basement. The garage is mostly my stuff, so we'll check it out. I reorganized yesterday. It looks pretty good. So obviously it still looks very cluttered, especially over there. But keep in mind that over here is essentially my whole microgreens business packed into one corner of a garage. So that's actually not so bad for a whole business. And this is all my stuff at this point. It's not my grandparents. So once the basement is built out with the microgreens farm, all this stuff is gonna get moved down there, which is gonna completely open up the garage again. So a bunch of stuff still cluttered over here, but I will say it's a lot easier to get through after my resorting yesterday. This is my little workbench that I work off of. It has all my tools and some charging stations and whatnot. A big old speaker that I bought. This has been awesome. It's a JBL, Party Box 710. This thing is an absolute monster. We bring this out towards the pool. We've used it for multiple parties. It's been insane. The sound quality is awesome and it's very loud. This area over here, this is actually pretty similar to how it's going to be set up. This isn't going to be here, obviously, this half rack, but this is the tray making table. We're going to have the soil right here in the bin, and then it's hard to see because there's this in front of it. But then this triple bin sink is where we're going to be soaking the seeds in buckets, right? We're going to have the water come up and over, and my controllers that go down into the sinks. So we're going to soak seeds here, make the trays there, have soil here, have a few seed buckets underneath there, right, for the rest of the seeds. And then the last of the seeds will be in like this cabinet thing that'll probably live about right here. And then my bales of soil are going to go right over there. So there's going to be water run up here to the sinks and whatnot. I'm also going to have a hand sink over there. So trays will get made upstairs and then right away get brought downstairs to the main grow room. I think that's a good way to do it because the tray making process, you know, that doesn't need as strict as the temperature control. You can make the trays in really whatever temperature you want. As long as those trays actually germinate and get grown in a temperature controlled area, you're good to go. So up here, we don't have to climate control, don't really need any fans, don't really need much of anything. We're just gonna make the trays up here and then bring them down into the grow space. And that's gonna save us some room downstairs in the basement, open up some more room for growing rather than making trays in a room that we don't really need to be making trays in. All right, let's head down. So this door, this is actually gonna get removed. This door is not gonna be here. It's gonna be a little bit more forward. I'll show you that when you get down here. This is like the water room right here. It's where I have the water filter that's servicing the whole house. This is the filter that I used to have in the farm that now services the whole house and will service the farm as well as all the outdoor water. I'm pretty pumped about this water filter. It just goes to everything. My showers have been insane. So the water comes in here. So we're gonna run water from here up into the sinks. And in order to do that, we couldn't really do that with this door here, right? So if I remove this door, we'll be able to run the water lines up into the sinks. Also with the wastewater coming from the sinks out back into the basement, also can't really do that with a door here. So I'm gonna move this door, since the sinks need access to this room, I'm gonna move this door and put it right here, right? So that way sinks in this room can communicate, but then also this is a very wet room. It's kind of open to the outside. When it rains, it almost like rains in this room. And it's just very damp, a very damp room, high humidity. I would imagine it could maybe influence some mold growth in the area. So this is another great reason why I love having the door over there rather than before this room, because it makes it so this room is outside of the grow space. So another great reason why I love the door over here. That light is not very bright. That one works though. So this is the farm. And again, like this basement was filled to the brim. I'll try to show some videos and pictures like over this video showing what it used to look like, but we've made an insane amount of progress. It's taken a lot of work, even though it might not look like it. So in this area over here, this is gonna be the main grow room. We're gonna have 2 racks over there, 4 racks along the wall, and then another rack or 2 here. I could even come out this way a little bit and do another 2 racks. So we're gonna be able to fit somewhere between 8 and 12 racks in this area. That's actually about the amount of racks that I was using in my other space, which was drastically bigger. There's a lot of space in there that I wasn't actually using, didn't really need. Also, this is in the basement of my own house. So, you know, the mortgage payment, eventually when I get a mortgage for this house, it'll be paid for by the Microgreens farm in the basement. How cool is that? So I'm not paying a landlord rent anymore. It's going towards my own investments, and I can grow equally amount of food in here that I was before, so I can do the same numbers. And it's just very exciting. This is great. This is really the first time where it's actually feeling like we're even remotely close to being able to build out the farm and get that business running again. This basement has just been filled with stuff. So now that we have it to this point, it's getting very exciting. We're getting very close. If all the timing goes well, this basement could be a full-on farm in less than a month. Now, we did schedule a vacation, one last vacation for October, so we won't be actually starting the business until after that. So right when we get home from our October vacation in Mexico, we'll be back here, we'll start growing and start servicing the customers. And then up until that point, up until we go away from Mexico, I'm sure we'll be doing a bunch of testing, testing the different varieties, testing the grow room, testing different setups, whatever, just getting it ready and in control for when we start back up again. So yeah, this is gonna be where the plants are grown. Then we have an area over here that will be, we'll be able to kind of work with the toters a little bit and smack out the trays, you know, the waste mats from the trays after we harvest them. They'll be able to go into toters over here. We'll have some space for that. Along the wall over here, I'm thinking in these windows, it might be a great place to do my climate control. So have AC heat combos in this window and in that window. Should be able to do the whole space with no problem. And if I can find units that fit in the windows, that will be great. because now these windows will have a use. Then in between the windows, I'm gonna have racks for germination, right? So the trays are gonna be made upstairs, then they're gonna be walked downstairs, placed on the racks for germination, and then they'll get moved from the germination racks over to the grow racks in that area. We're not gonna need the whole wall for germination. We're gonna have plenty of space down here. So what I also wanna do is potentially use some of the wall and also where this pool table is to do edible flowers. That is definitely a goal of mine, is to start doing some edible flowers. And this right here and on the wall is definitely the great place to be doing the edible flowers in here. Microgreens over there, edible flowers over here, germination over there, and then over here is gonna be the harvest area. So we already have an outlet here. We're gonna drop the fridge right here. Eventually we'll probably need 2 fridges. And then the harvesting tables are gonna go along this wall and they're gonna stick out a bit. Probably stick out to here, the 2 harvesting tables. And then it'll get packed away in the fridge over there. Nice and clean, easy, efficient, and there's definitely a lot more work that has to get done, but luckily a lot of the work is not work that I'll be doing myself, it's work that I'll be hiring out. So electric, plumbing, general contracting work. All I have to do is schedule that with them, pay them, and they come in and do it. They could even potentially be here on the same days. So that's why the farm is like really close and really ready to get up and running. This is in the basement and we have block walls and a concrete floor. I might want to seal this. Actually do a vapor barrier along all the walls just to seal it from the outside, hopefully help with some humidity and moisture in here, right? And that might make it look a little cleaner too. I was researching about paint and painting. You can't paint right over the concrete block if it's underground because of the moisture. What I was also reading is that paint is perfect food for mold, whereas just block wall actually is not an environment that can harbor mold. So I'm either gonna just leave the blocks the way they are and just power wash them and get them nice and clean first, or I'm gonna vapor barrier them and then make them actually look nice, hopefully like white walls. As far as the ceiling goes, I'm gonna have to do something. I'm thinking of either vapor barrier again for the ceiling. That way the vapor doesn't escape the grow room and go up into the house. If I don't do that, I might just keep it even simpler and do just a thin plastic sheet over the whole ceiling and then use essentially long strips of wood to fasten that plastic sheet to the rafters down here. Definitely gonna power wash the floor, and we were thinking of doing some sort of paint. I would love to see like green, dark green floors with white walls, but I have to see what's practical, what makes sense financially. It might make sense just to power wash everything and leave it as is, leave it with a concrete block. If it doesn't grow mold and I get it to a point where it's clean, that's easy enough, right? And it might just be the right material. I'm getting a bunch of electricity, ran to a bunch of different places, over here for running lights for the harvesting. We have electric there for the fridge already. I'm getting electric in the water room for the water filter, because right now it's coming from this space for the electric. I'm getting an electric line run over there, probably here next to the windows, and then of course a few outlets over there near the plants. Plumbing, I'm getting a line over there on the wall so that way we could water the plants. It'll just be a hose nozzle, water the plants as per usual until I upgrade to automated watering. Obviously running the water lines up to the sinks, and then one additional water line in the garage as well for making the trays with the hose. What else? Plumbing up to the sinks, back out of the sinks, and we're either gonna connect it back into that room and then run a sump pump to pump it back out, or he'll run it down up from the garage and over into the normal waste line, and it'll actually be connected. So that's electric, plumbing. As far as the general contracting work goes, simple stuff like making a wall there and putting in a door, putting walls back in that area with doors, and potentially gaining some insights as to what to do with the walls and the floor, vapor barrier, all that type of stuff. It's stuff that this guy knows about and also stuff that he can do. So that's about it. I mean, super pumped. I'm glad that I finally got like a real vacation. I've been working my butt off for 6 years, and now finally this summer, it just turned out to be a summer where we were doing a lot of vacationing, a lot of partying, a lot of just like relaxing, enjoying our time, enjoying the new house, the new property, enjoying our cats, enjoying each other. So it's been a great summer just to kind of get grounded and recharge, ready for the next sprint of work that we're gonna be doing. And I've also been learning some awesome skills in marketing and creating funnels. So it's been a great summer. We're getting towards the end of it, right? We're in August, and very thankful for this summer and excited to get the grow room back up and running. So much to come. I'll see you guys next time.